News before you go, with the Senate approving a budget resolution early this morning. Senators voted 52-48 along party lines. The resolution will serve as a blueprint for the first part of President Donald Trump's agenda. Committees will be directed to allocate $342 billion in funding for the border, energy, and military over the next 4 years. The resolution also asks committees to find cuts and reforms that would offset that spending. Nebraska Senator Deb Fischer releasing a statement after it passed. She says the resolution is a pivotal first step in passing a spending package that will serve all Americans. Cerise.
Maria, thank you.